Hi, my name is Nichole Fierro, and today I'll be doing my thesis presentation titled No Way I'm a New Wave, and it's a study on the New Wave subculture and its correlation to modern-day sexuality and gender identity. So, to start off, I would like to first state my abstract. So, I decided to take a deeper dive into the New Wave subculture and just analyze the musicians of the time that push the gender norms and how this has impacted our modern-day conversations around sexuality and gender identity as well. So before I start out with anything, I would like to introduce the topic and define what exactly New Wave is. So to some people, New Wave is considered as the late 70s to 80s genre that incorporates the remains of punk music and a new synth pop type of sound. However, to other people, it's a culture, and it's a way for them to have a safe space to be able to come together and to love and to be loved. So, to provide a little bit of background on how the subculture came to be, it all started in London in the 1970s. So from the early 1970s to the mid-1970s, London was often described as bleak and dreary, and their economy was in a downturn at the time, so there was lots of power outages and strikes and just in general chaos everywhere. And unfortunately, there was also a rise in homophobia amongst the younger punk community of teens, as these were middle-class youths who were looking for a way to cause trouble and to target queer people at the time. So in order to counteract this, two young people, Rusty Egan and Steve Strange, decided to have a Bowie's Nights every Tuesday, and this quickly turned into a nightclub. So this nightclub was called the Blitz, and it was a crucial part in playing a role in how the subculture started off. In 1979, the Blitz started as a way for people to be able to come together, and this nightclub also helped breed a lot of new wave artists that we know and love today. People such as Billy Idol, Spandau Ballets, and Nichole, and even Boy George were all regular attenders there, and these people were considered Blitz kids. And in order to popularize this, there were many celebrities that also were featured there, people such as Mick Jagger, who actually was rejected from the nightclub. It was a very exclusive community, so they wanted to make sure that everyone would be able to feel safe. And even David Bowie himself was featured in the he appeared at the nightclub, and he got several Blitz kids to be able to be in his Ashes to Ashes music video as well. And because of these celebrities coming, a lot of people started going to the nightclub and became very popular in London's counterculture. And there's a quote that I really like from Gary Kemp, who is the lead guitarist of the Spandau Ballet band that was formed there. And he was talking about how the Blitz kids wanted to find a way to, seek happiness out of the bleak and dreary London economy at the time. And so he said that they wanted to take responsibility for the next decade to come, which was the 80s, and that's exactly what they did. So in order to get the subculture to become popular in America, MTV was a crucial part in playing a role in popularizing the subculture, and it aired in August 1st of 1981, and it was an easy and accessible way for people to consume the pop culture media, and it exposed a lot of youth at the time as well to this new wave subculture and musicians as well. Because of the music videos that they played, a lot of people ended up experimenting with queer fashion and even queer themes in their music videos, and this was just a new way to propel the culture into the mainstream media. So, to continue on the topic of music videos, there are a lot of musicians at the time that played a huge role in normalizing a little bit of the queer fashion that we know. So musicians such as David Bowie, everyone knows David Bowie, and he did a music video called Boys Keep Swinging, and if you haven't seen it, I'll briefly describe it, but basically David Bowie, he dresses up as 5 different women. He wears stilettos, pencil skirts, blouses, and even wigs and vibrant makeup, and at the end of the music video, he off his wig and all the accessories that he has on, and this just was a way for him to be able to provide a satirical comment on the gender norms at the time. And another person I would like to note is Boy George of Culture Club, who was actually a Blitz kid himself. He became very popularly known for having drag makeup and drag fashion as well. As you can see, he's right there to the right. And he made a very public speech at the Grammys in 1984 when Culture Club won the division for Best New Artist. And he said, quote unquote, "Thank you, America, you know a good drag queen when you see one." And for the time that it was a bit controversial because although a lot of musicians in the 80s were known for being very androgynous and eccentric, a lot of people didn't become outwardly queer until much, much later. And this was because it was still stigmatized at the time. So unfortunately, the comment itself received a little bit of backlash, but it was very important for people nowadays to reflect on how exactly these musicians came to impact the way we see and handle these conversations today. So as we all know, the times are changing nowadays, and we can see a lot of the 80s being reflected on how our modern day artists are trying to influence mainstream media as well as the nightlife. And a lot of nightlife nowadays has started to resurrect the 80s aesthetics and music as well. Most commonly known here in Austin would be Barbarella's and Elysium. These nightclubs have 80s nights where people, all the people of ages, old or young, I've seen a lot of young people go there, it's so cool. But these people come together and it provides people with a safe space to be able to, foster a sense of community and be able to just be around people who are like-minded. As well as that, a lot of media and entertainment nowadays promotes and uplifts queer culture. We can see TV and films such as Moonlight, Call Me By Your Name, and even Bottoms, which was most recently released. And as well as that, there's TV shows such as Heartbreak High, Modern Family, and even The L Word, and all of these films and TV shows are just known to have either queer plot lines, characters, or is entirely centered around the queer and LGBTQ community. As well as that, musicians such as Troye Sivan, Lady Gaga, and Kim Petras are all known to be outwardly queer or even incorporate queer themes into their music videos and lyrics and are transgender themselves as well. So, to add into the topic, because of all of this media and entertainment uplifting the community, there's been a rising trend in identity exploration, and we can see this through the conversations that people have nowadays, and it's very often nowadays that we see people asking for pronouns or displaying their pronouns, whether it's on an Instagram bio or their email handles, and it's just very important to be able to normalize these things because a lot of the time people don't consider themselves to be cisgendered, and it's just a really great way for people to address people by their correct identity. As well as that, conversations have been destigmatized around sexual orientations. Nowadays, a lot of people discuss freely their sexuality, whether they're bisexual, pansexual, or even just gay or lesbian. And there's a quote that I really like by my friend Tim Hawkins, who I had the pleasure to interview when I was researching for this thesis. And he says, quote unquote, "We don't want your labels." This was in reference to how the queer culture nowadays, or just young people nowadays, don't want to be defined by one thing. They want to be able to explore their own identity and sexualities without judgment or without being scrutinized by mainstream culture. And it was just a really interesting interview overall, as he was also part of the 80s as well. He grew up during the 80s and even talked about the Boy George speech to me and how he reacted himself. So it's really important that nowadays we can address people by their correct identities, and as well as that, just like people who are exploring with their own gender identities, such as people who consider themselves non-binary or even transgender or pangender. So to conclude my presentation, I would just like to say that in conclusion, the new wave subculture itself not only paved the way for artists and people nowadays to express themselves through artistic expression, but as well as that, it allows us to embrace the quirks of fashion and music that we have nowadays. And it just brings hope in general for the future. And I'm really excited to see what comes out of the future generations to come because, you know, we've come such a long way since the 80s, and although they weren't very vibrant with their style, they weren't openly queer a lot of the time, so it's really important to give credit where credit is due and be able to acknowledge how far we've come as a society rather than focusing on the negative. Thank you very much.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you, Nichole. I open it to the audience for questions and comments.
About a quarter century goes by between the new wave and what we have going on today. What's your sense? Was it kind of a backlash, you think, during that period? AIDS, of course, kind of closed things down a lot. There's been a lot of time since then, too. What's your sense of that?
Yeah, so I actually, when I was first starting my topic, I did at first incorporate the issues with the AIDS pandemic at the time and how the government was, there was a lack of response from the government during the Reagan administration, I believe. So I did include a little bit of that in my topic when I first was starting it, but towards the end, I decided that it would be a little bit difficult to include it only because I was going towards a different direction and I wanted to connect it to how people nowadays respond more positively to it and focus less on the history of the culture and try and tie it more to modern day times. But I did research that a little bit and it was unfortunate to see that the government was not responding well to it. So, yes, thank you.
Questions?
You mentioned Tim Hawkins. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, so Tim Hawkins was that's not his real name. I had to keep it, anonymous. But he is a person, he's around, I'd say 51, 52. He actually worked with me at an internship I had last summer. So I interned at a radio station, KMFA, 89.5 classical music station, and he works there. I'm not going to give you his identity, obviously, but he allowed me to say this much. But basically, I interviewed him because I know when I worked there, he talked a lot about 80s music. And at the time, last summer, that's when I really started getting more into 80s music. I personally really like to explore all different genres. I know I don't look like I might, but I think that after meeting him, it really opened me up to a whole new perspective on music as well. And that's why I chose him for an interview because I really feel like he provided a lot of knowledge on the topic and he was there firsthand as well. He grew up in the 80s, so I just really wanted his perspective on the whole situation. And yeah.
Time for one more question or comment. Anyone has one? Okay, I'm going to take it. I'm just curious what your favorite music or band or musician encountered was in all this research.
Wait, sorry, can you say that again?
What was your favorite band or favorite musician that you encountered in all this research?
That's a really good question. I don't know, there's a lot. How much time do we have? I'd say right now, most recently, I've been listening to a lot of Culture Club. I really like Time, Clock of the Heart. That's my favorite songs right now. So I'd say maybe Culture Club, but also, as you can see, I really love Blue Monday by New Order. All my friends can attest to that. So yeah, New Order and Culture Club mostly. Yeah.
Well, let me invite Tim up to run up to the stage. Tim, please say some words about Nichole.
All right, thank you very much. This was a really neat thesis to be working on. I worked on 5 honors theses over the past 5 years. They're all very distinct, very different. And I was a little bit surprised when Nichole asked me to be the mentor for this project. The reason why is that Nichole had me for an honors class where she did have to build mixtapes and write about it and write about her choices. In the process of that, this class at 9:30, which we would desperately hope for, and a couple of other people in this room who know this class, we were just hoping students would show up by 9:45. But she actually did start showing up at 9 o'clock just to talk with me about music. And we would converse heavily about music, of course, but of course, arts and entertainment and culture as a doorway into larger conversations. I was a little bit surprised when Nichole asked me to be her mentor, because she's technically housed in our business school, and I am an arts and humanities professor. And in the process, she explained to me that she wanted me to be the mentor because I am old. Because I was there in the 1980s and the 70s. I was born in 75, and she said, "You were there, you know all these kinds of things." And I thought, okay, fine. One thing that does not come out in this presentation is exactly how hard she has had to work and some of the stuff that I had to do myself. For our winter vacation between the fall of 2023 and 2024, we both had to take online training on basically how to protect the people that she was to be interviewing. We had to go through crisis training, all those kinds of things. She has handled herself with extreme grace. And I cannot begin to tell you how good this project truly is. Although you get 14 minutes, her actual paper is as thick as a brick, and it is going into all different kinds of details. And now more than ever, as she is addressing things along the lines of queer identity, but more importantly, the histories that we need to continue to talk about, I personally think Nichole's project here today is something that embodies exactly what St. Edward's University is about, between social justice, between honoring people from old people. And I think that she has done an absolutely fantastic job in this place that has a lovely coffee shop. With that said, we are going to be doing 3 things right now. We are going to be putting this scarfy thing, I always forget what they're called, stole around your neck. And we are going to be putting a rope around your neck, which I still never really understand. This. All right, then we're going to put a rope around your neck. And by the powers invested in me as a mentor, I am naming Nichole an honorary Blitz kid as of this moment. And now we will take the customary selfie that Basil will go with one of